Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Bear here with the Scryguystv, and today we're going to be talking about Satya Aetherflux Genius. It is one of the pre-con commander decks coming out of Modern Horizons 3, and we built it to be around $70. Some cards aren't priced out yet because Modern Horizons 3 hasn't dropped officially yet, but they've put out the deck list. But we're going to be doing a nice little $70 version of that deck. Satya Aetherflux Genius, 1 and Jeskai, legendary creature, human artificer, menace, haste. When it attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of up to one other target non-token creature you control. You get 2 energy. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice that token unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana value. So that's what we're going to be doing with this guy. It's going to get nuts, guys. Let's see if we can go ahead and make this just a little bit bigger. So let's start off with our artifacts. Because the tokens say sacrifice and not exile at the end step, that means they do die. So with Skull Clamp is going to be a nice way for us to draw some cards off of those. If those tokens don't get blocked and killed during combat, we should be able to take advantage of them with drawing 2 cards when they go away at the end step. Idol of Oblivion's around the same thing too. It's going to let us draw a card for each token that we create, and in a pinch, if we need a big creature, we can sacrifice it for 8 mana to make a 10/10. Norn's Wellspring is a great one too, because like I said, these tokens do just end up dying or being sacrificed at the end, so they do technically die, and so we can take advantage of this. It's 1 and a white artifact. Whenever a creature you control dies, you get to scry 1, so it lets us kind of churn through our deck, sculpt the top of our deck. You know, sometimes you kind of have to stop drawing lands, right? And then if anything, we can go and pay 1, remove 2 oil counters, and we get to draw a card. Also, we can take advantage of this on board wipes as well. So it's going to see all those creatures dying. We're going to scry that many times, put that many oil counters on it, and we can just draw cards. Cloudstone Courier is going to be probably one of the more expensive cards in this deck. It is a 3 mana artifact. Whenever a non-artifact permanent enters the battlefield under your control, you may return another permanent you control that shares a permanent type with that to its owner's hand. Really cool thing about this is when Satya makes those tokens, the creatures that enter the battlefield, then that means we can go ahead and bounce the original creature back into our hand and get another use out of it, getting either more card draw, more life gain, more bounce effects, more treasures, more tokens, like creature tokens and all that stuff. So this card used to be like $50. So I don't know how long it's going to stay at the $10 to $12 range. It might stay there for a while. I mean, maybe it was like $50 because of the scarcity of it, but it is such a good card. It's a huge combo enabler and all that stuff. So definitely pick one up for this deck if you find the need to do that, because in this deck we're going to be abusing a lot of creature enter the battlefield effects, and so just being able to get a double effect of that back into our hand is really cool. Panharmonicon is great in this deck. It's $3 to $4 depending on like the condition that you get it in, and so it's going to give a lot of our creatures double ETB effects. And then the cool thing is when Satya is on the field and it attacks, then it's going to technically give us like quadruple ETB effects. And so it's just, you know, and it's a silly card, right? Let's look at our creatures. We're looking at about 28 creatures. Our mana curve on this is going to be pretty low, so it's going to be just a good amount of creatures. A lot of our creatures are going to help us ramp. A lot of our creatures are going to help us draw. A lot of our creatures are going to help us control the board a bit. So it's going to be great for that. Guide of Souls is going to be a new card for Modern Horizons. It's a 1-drop, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life and you gain energy. Really cool thing about this, though, is that whenever you attack, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on and a flying counter on target creature. It becomes an angel as well. Super cool. It gives our commander a 2+2/+2 counter buff, and it gives flying counters instead of just flying for the turn. So really great. It's gonna give us the ability to keep buffing up our commander and all that stuff. So because like when it attacks, it's gonna get the counter, it's gonna get the life with the token, it's gonna get the energy, and then pay the 3 to give creatures +2 and flying. Charming Prince is great. We're gonna try to take advantage of a lot of modal type of creatures, so depending on the situation that we need these creatures in, we can kind of pick and choose, right? Charming Prince is one of them. You get to scry 2, gain 3 life, or then we can go ahead and exile another creature and bring it back at the end step. So, and it's a 2 mana 2/2, so just great right there. Charming Scoundrel is another modal creature card where it's going to give us either a loot or a rummage effect. I always forget. Rummage effect with the discard and draw card. It's gonna ramp us with the treasure token, or it's gonna start doling out some wicked roll tokens onto our creatures. Really great value for 2 mana. Dire Fleet Daredevil is another one that's going to be great. It's going to give us access to our opponent's instants and sorceries, and the fact that we could use any kind of mana to cast those spells can really help us either like catch up with like ram spells or draw cards effects or even extra turn effects. So really cool right there. Oracle of Tragedy, another modal card where it lets us loot or rummage. I always forget. But it also, the second modal mode is actually the one that really interested me the most. It's gonna let us keep refilling our library from our graveyard. It lets us shuffle up to 4 target cards with mana value 3 or greater from your graveyard into your library. Not a whole lot that's going to be 3 or greater, but just the fact that it's going to be hard to deck out while this thing is out on the field is sort of cool right there. Aether Channeler, another modal card that's going to give us 1/1 birds, or it's going to let us bounce a non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or it's going to let us draw a card. So, you play it, and then you attack with Satya, then you get to do whatever you chose again. Or you can choose another thing, or we can keep controlling the board with bouncing things to people's hands, which a lot of people hate. Exhibition Magician is great. It's another modal, gets us a 1/1 citizen token, or it gets us treasures. It's a 2/1 as well. Lorna the Third Path. Now I tried to minimize the amount of legendary creatures on here just because we can't keep multiples of legendary creatures, so at least with Lorna the Third Path we're going to be able to at least get the ETB before we have to choose one to keep. Let's see. Patron of the Arts it's just really a ram creature, but the cool thing about this one is that whenever it ETBs or dies, you get a treasure token. So when we play it and then we swing out with Satya, another Patron of the Arts comes down, gets us another treasure if it doesn't get blocked, or if if someone just takes the 3 damage, we're still going to get the other treasure at the end step as well. So in one turn, for 3 mana, you're going to get 3 treasures and possibly 2 creatures if you want to pay for the energy tokens. Plundering Barbarian, another modal card, lets us destroy an artifact or lets us create a treasure token. Priest of Ancient Lore, gain a life, draw a card, pretty simple. Reflector Mage, that used to be a menace when it was in standard, lets us control the board by bouncing creatures to their owner's hand, and then they can't even recast those creatures on their next turn. It's kind of jarring sometimes, especially if it's like your commander or something. Seagate Oracle, it's going to let us look at the top 2, draw some cards, and 1 into our hand, 1 into the bottom of the library. Soul Herder is a nice little backup commander, so just in case our commander gets a little too expensive, Soul Herder is going to at least bounce and flicker these creatures, or it's going to let flicker these creatures at the end step, letting us get another go at those ETB effects. Swashbuckler, same thing. It's going to let us create a treasure, but this also says that whenever we attack, we can go and sacrifice 1 or more treasures. If you do, that many creatures gain double strike, so possibly can be a game ender for us. Whirlpool Warrior, 2 in a blue. When it enters the battlefield, shuffle the cards from your hand into the library, then draw that many cards. So a nice Wind of Change effect, and then we could pay red, sacrifice it, and then each player will have to go ahead and Winds of Change. But if you do this with your token, you're just going to be able to get to see more of your hand with this, and some people don't like having to shuffle their hand away when they've possibly sculpted it to be super optimal for the next turn or anything. And so it's really nice to be able to throw wrenches in people's hands. Witty Roadmaster is just a very budget version of Perforos. I mean, we're gonna get so many creatures, so many tokens out that hopefully all the incremental damage that we deal with him is going to matter, like at some point in the game. Archaeomancer, it's just Eternal Witness for our instants and sorceries. So for our counter spells, protection spells, nice to be able to get them back with it. Brago is almost like a second commander in this deck. If you guys have ever faced a Brago deck, then you already know how much of an issue it is. So I don't think I have to explain that one, but I guess maybe I do. 2 in Azori is a legendary creature, Spirit Noble, flying. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile any number of target non-land permanents you control, then return those to the battlefield under their owner's control. So this will possibly let us flicker our entire board, get more ETBs and all that stuff, and just outpace our opponents so much. Kaith, Famed Mechanist, 1 in Jeskai, one of the actual second commanders in this pre-con deck, or for this pre-con commander, is a legendary creature, Dwarf Artificer. Fabricate. Other non-token creatures you control have Fabricate, so they're able to either get a +1/+1 buff or make a 1/1 servo token. So kind of cool. And then you could pay 2, tap it, choose one, populate or proliferate. Both super strong, and she's actually probably a really strong commander on her own, but it's just really cool that we're able to populate with her. And then with other cards in the deck, if we get to get some untaps in and still have mana to do this again, it can just get out of hand really quickly with her. So Elite Guard Mage, 2 in Azorius, flying. When it enters the battlefield, gain 3 life, draw a card. And it's a 2/3 and has flying, so even the token should be able to get through with some 2 damage. But it's really here just to gain a 6 life and draw 2 cards. Pretty good deal right there. Same with Solemn Simulacrum. It's gonna ramp us some basic land. We do have a good amount of basic lands in this, just because we are like under $70. So, and then at the end step, if no one blocks it and it dies, we still get to draw a card. So for 4 mana, we get two basic lands and a draw card. Really, this deck is super value town, so it's awesome right there. Cloud Blazer, 3 and Azorius, same thing as Guard Mage, but this one gets us 2 life and draw 2 cards, but it's only a 2/2. So yeah, just really good rates though. Lavinia of the 10th, really great control piece for us. 3 in Azorius, legendary creature, human soldier, protection from red. When it enters the battlefield, detain each non-land permanent your opponent's control with mana value 4 or less. So it's going to shut down small creatures, mana dorks. It's going to shut down mana rocks, because it says it says permanent, non-land permanents and all that stuff. So this girl can slow down the game for our opponents, meanwhile us having to being able to advance our board a lot faster and swing in with a lot more confidence. Lightning Runner is going to be a funny one in here. So it's a 3 and 2 red, double strike, haste. When it attacks, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 8. If you pay, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional phase. So let's just say there's been a board wipe or whatever, and you're able to rebuild faster than everybody else. So you have Satya, you have Lightning Runner, and you have at least 6 to 8 energy just saved up. Sometimes people don't really care about the energy, or they forget about it. Well, after the play against this guy, they're not going to forget about it. But with that, you can go ahead and attack with both creatures, and then you can bring down another Lightning Runner, and then so you have two, you have 4. So if you have 6 to 8, you have 10 to 12. Pay the 8, untap all your creatures. Now the token that came down with the Lightning Runner, now you have 2 Lightning Runners and Satya. So now you're gonna go ahead and attack again. You're gonna get 6, and then you're gonna create another token. And so you can see where I'm going with this. You could possibly have infinite combat damage with this, but you do need to at least have 6 energy already in the bank before you can kind of go off like this. So hey, you know, if you're planning to go that route, go for the infinite combats, then Lightning Runner's there for you. Peregrine Drake, 4 in a blue. I mean, another combo enabler, but just being able to untap our lands with it, even if it's not like infinite loop, is going to be really helpful. And just having a body on the board and just having another way to untap our lands for us to be able to play our deck a lot faster. Port Razor, another lightning runner without the energy constraint, because each token of Port Razor that comes down hasn't hit a certain person, so it's just gonna constantly keep creating us new Port Razors that can go ahead and attack and all that stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be just another way for these two. It's a 2-card combo, infinite combat combo. Sunshine, I kind of like. I have a soft spot. It's like almost like a pet card, and it's just a really good card still. But Sunshine 4 and 2 white. Obviously, you should know what it does now. But Vigilance, when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return the target permanent card 3 mana value or less from the battlefield, from the graveyard to the battlefield. So just a nice way for us to reoccur small creatures, small artifacts, and all that stuff. And it's bad because I kind of always end up just slotting it in, even when I don't need to. Let's look at our enchantments. Inspiring Leader is 2 and a white, legendary enchantment background. It gives our tokens +2/+2, so just giving our tokens a way to either survive and to get more damage in. Scurry of Gremlins is, I believe, in the precon as well. 2 and Boros. When it enters, we're going to create 2 1/1 Gremlins, and then we're going to get energy equal to the amount of creatures we control, and then we can pay for it and give all creatures haste and +1/+0. So just a nice little way to buff our creatures if we're trying to go out for the alpha swing. Teferi's Aegis Insight. This one's I'm kind of iffy on, but it's 2 and a 2 blue legendary enchantment. If you draw a card except the first one, draw that many. Draw 2 cards instead. So yeah, so it's just gonna be able to give us, it's sort of like a Panharmonicon for our creatures that can just draw us cards. I might take it out, but I kind of just slot it in there. Warstorm Surge is probably going to be, besides this and Sunshine, our cutoff is, I believe, 6 mana, but a nice way for us to just throw around damage. We have an evasion cycle, so to make sure our commander doesn't die. We have cards like Aqueous Form that can be blocked, and then whenever it attacks, scry 1. Prowler's Helm is equipment that can't be blocked except by walls. Sword Coast Sailor is kind of on the fence on this one because it is situational, so I don't know if you want to keep that in there or just find something better. But I do like Fanatical Devotion a little bit more. It's 2 and a white, sacrifice a creature, regenerate target creature. Our commander doesn't have to deal combat damage, it just has to attack. So we can possibly just sack the token that we created with Satya to regenerate it and keep it on the board for as long as possible. Unquestioned Authority is a nice little budget card to give our creature protection, and it also draws us a card when it enters the battlefield. And Whisper Silk Cloak, kind of classic for these type of decks where you want to attack with a specific creature, especially your commander. I remember I had this in Greven, but I don't know. No, actually I didn't have it in Greven. I don't think I could have it in Greven. But equipped creature can be block and has Shroud, and it's just equipped 2. So let's look at our instance. Pretty basic package here. Source the Plowshare, Tune the Narrative, which is just a great energy card for us. Boros Charm, that's going to give us protection. Comet Storm to sort of clear the board if we have enough mana to put into it. Counterspell Negate is going to be a nice little counter, just protection. So is Chaos Warp. Electro Siphon from the Fallout set is like a mana drain for energy counters. Generous Gift for some more spot removal. We have Ghostway and Lazelle's Acrobatics as a budget Teferi's protection, but it's actually really cool just because they exile, and unless there's a containment priest out, we're going to be able to take advantage of the ETB effects of our creatures. And then we have Unwind for just a little bit more counterspell magic. Here's our lands. We're at 34. Curve is pretty low, so I think I justified it that way. Ash Barrens for the basic land cycling. Some of the pain lands, I forgot what these lands are called. Obviously Command Tower, obviously Exotic Orchard, Show Lands. That's what I call them. I don't really exactly remember. See the Cons, Trilands, and all that stuff. It's pretty basic. land thing. I mean, oh, and then also I gotta say, so we have 7 plains, 8 islands, and 7 mountains. Yeah, so a lot of basics in this deck. Let's see, our sorceries are pretty slim as well, just because we're such a creature-focused deck. But we have Faithless Looting, Ponder, Expressive Iteration, Sabine's Reclamation is great for this one, giving us 2 different ways. And then we have Blasphemous Act. We are a very board present heavy deck, so we really don't want to blow the field as much. And I kind of wanted, maybe I could probably fit in one more in here as well. But yeah, I just like, it's gonna be a nice fun deck. And I don't know, blowing the board always like slows down the deck so much, or just slows down games so much, right? And then our ramp, it looks slim because we only have Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and then the other signets as well. But you have to remember, we do have creatures that create treasures for us, and then we'd be able to take advantage of all that treasure creation from our commander. So I think that's why this looks kind of slim. But yeah, and let's look at some of the deck stats. So average mana curve is 2.98, so pretty low. Again, like I said, heavy on the creatures, because that's kind of what the commander wants to do, right? And yeah, so let me know what you guys think of this deck. I want to see your guys' versions of this deck and all that stuff, and what direction that you guys really wanted to do this deck in. But yeah, hope you guys are having a lot of luck with your Modern Horizons full, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what kind of content you guys want us to make. If you guys were cool with this type of deck tech, just me kind of talking through the actual deck list instead of making the slides, I just figure, I don't know, I'll try something new with you guys. All right, man. Have a good one, guys.